Parker, you want to tell us about the new arrival in Dubai?
Well, as I've been saying to you before we came on there, I'm running on empty. Hey, the adrenaline's just about wore off at this stage. But I've been told by you can see it. Hey, you might have to hook me early. It'll be like Finn Park all over again. Back in the day, I'll be blown up after 20 minutes. Hey, and they'll be looking at me. Ollie'll be looking to make a change. But look, it's been unbelievable. Whirlwind couple of weeks. So as I say though, running on adrenaline this last few weeks, but the tiredness is starting to catch up. So if I'm not as sharp as I usually am, hey, you know what the reason is. But now all's going good. He's doing great, man. So it's brilliant.
Great stuff. Congratulations to Ray as well and yourself. I suppose it's kind of like a lot of your football performances. You know, you've got someone else to do the hard graft, and then you kind of come on for. You kind of show up in the last 5-10 minutes with a wee cameo appearance and try to take the bonnets for it. Is that what's going to happen here again?
To be honest, that's probably a fair assessment of it. Like that's definitely a very fair assessment of it. Hey, I definitely got the easier part of the deal. So yeah, probably is a good explanation. But now, like as I say, Marie's doing great. The baby's doing good. So I am quite tired, lad. But,
you were telling me there. You were telling me as well that you were in, for like the couple of checkups or whatever after a couple of weeks or so. But just to weigh the baby and height and stuff like that there, and you were, it's definitely taking your genes. So the weight's definitely good, is it? Is there maybe slightly over?
It was interesting. I didn't know this. You're learning all the time. But babies lose weight in the first week, and then we went to see the pediatrician, and the pediatrician was saying, "This is fantastic. The baby's put on a lot of weight. This isn't normal." So he's got a wee fat face like me. So. He's definitely taken after me early on, so we'll have on the Snickers. We'll have on the Snickers soon. When he's on, when we introduce the solids, he'll be straight on the Snickers with me. So he's definitely. Thanks for bringing that up, Conor. You're absolutely stitching me up here. But yeah, he's taken after me. He's a fat wee man. Hey, but hopefully he's as good at football as I am, and he'll be all right.
That's it. Look forward to meeting them, and best luck to yourself and Ray. Seriously, that's
cheers, Chief.
Right. So look, we're going to move on. We're going to go straight on the Harps. Since we were speaking to you last, we have, we've had another 6 points on the board so far. A good draw. We spoke about how difficult it was going to be. I suppose after kind of the great start that Harps have had, and then. Going to Drogheda, relatively new team, new enough setup. It was going to be difficult for them to maybe after the high of Dundalk get 3 points there. Bit of a target in their back then, maybe going to Drogheda, and it could have been a place where they could have slipped up, Chief.
100%. I think we said that obviously after the first couple of games. We said the next two games. Will be a real test of where Harps are at, because I think even the best of optimists wouldn't have expected Harps to get 6 out of 6 from playing Bows in Dundalk. We got that. So it was a real acid test to see how they would get on when they are probably the favourites, maybe going down to Drogheda, people fancy them, and then home to Waterford. The complexion changed where people expected Harps to get results, and they've got 4 points from 6. You can't really ask for much better than that. Drogheda are doing really well. Waterford the week before had came to Derry and got a result. They're a tough side, good players. So I think it's just a brilliant start, and it's added to the whole excitement. And as we said at the very start of the season, the optimism was there. So it's very hard to criticise Harps at the minute, in terms of anything they're doing wrong. They're getting results. They look really solid. I think there's been a bit of an evolution in terms of the way they play. I don't think they're all out expansive, but if you look at the Harps' first goal against Waterford the last day, Mark Anthony McGinley's rolled the ball out to Mark Coyle. He started the move, couple of great passes, great play from Barry McNamee, lovely bit of interchange on the edge of the box, and that man Foley's banged it in. So I do think Harps are they're blending the style of play a little bit as well. I know Harps have been criticised for going front to back, but it's been brilliant, Conan. And as I say, I was a bit sceptical as to what the next two results were going to be. And to get 4 points from 6 and be joint top of the league, just unbelievable. Here's the goal from the Drogheda game, super strike as well from Carlos Sullivan, unbelievable technique.
You don't see too many goals like that there. That's class written all over it. You kind of said there when you were surmising the whole start of the thing. It's hard to criticise Harps, and that's kind of something that's been easy to do. Kind of over the past couple of seasons. The start they've had no one's criticising them. They've been absolutely fantastic. Like that strike there, like people were kind of talking about Burke's goal last night. Great strike from the halfway line against Derry, like for Shamrock Rovers against Derry. That for me is a far better goal. It's far technically, it's so much test to keep that ball down on the edge of the box. It's absolutely brilliant. So he's had a crack start, and he's one. 100%. Ollie will be looking to throughout the season to deliver goals like that there, and he'll have a job catching up with Mr. Foley now, who is like lead marksman in the league. Did you ever see that one coming?
I didn't see that coming, to be fair, and I was thinking to myself, if Foley continues this goal scoring form, do Harps run the risk of potentially losing him in the summer? Without to be too negative, but yourself, a top striker in the league, they're like hen's teeth. And, I think Gaffney scored for Shamrock Rovers last night, but I think that's his first league goal in 2019. Yeah. So goal scorers are hard to come by. And yourself, the lure of full-time football and big clubs, that's unfortunately the consequence of Harps' success can sometimes be some of their players could be poached. And that could be a challenge that maybe Ollie wouldn't have foreseen at the start of the season. So it's not that we don't want Foley to keep banging them in, but yourself, Chief, the way the game is, if Foley's there at the midway point with maybe 10, 11 goals, there'll definitely be clubs looking at him, But I'd say the only thing that you could criticise Harps for, and you'll know this better than anyone because you were marshalling the defence at Harps under Ollie for years. Harps have conceded 2 goals from set pieces. How annoyed will Ollie be about that? Like, how much of a stickler he is for being organised. That'll annoy him again. It's a soft goal again, isn't it? The one against Waterford.
Yeah, it is. And like as you mentioned there, that'll be one where Ollie prides himself. Like obviously the setup that they have in the back this year seems to be working really well. They're strong defensively, but it's more of a concentration one generally. When you concede from a set piece like that, there it's not really generally an ability thing. So that's where he will be disappointed, and it's something that they will work on tirelessly. He's a stickler for shape, and he's it'll be the last thing they do. He'll know who the corner takers are, where they'll be going. He'll know all the signs, so he'll have the lads well drilled in that there. So it'll be something that they will look to clean up on, as moving forward. Because if in games because we're kind of are we at a stage now where we're thinking, where I know we kind of spoke at the start of the season. Yeah, great to be optimistic, and we'll give them. I think we mentioned 5th, and that was kind of like.
Yeah. I think you went 7th. I think you went 7th. I went 5th. I was a wee bit more optimistic.
Really? I'm not too sure about that.
We'll dig it.
But where now, realistically, it's the league's starting to settle down. Teams are starting to set up their stall as such, and we kind of know what everybody has after about 4 weeks of the season. Where now do you see Harps finishing?
Where do I see it? Yeah, it's a good one. Look, I feel that, when we talked about it beforehand, it wasn't, we weren't sort of predicting Harps to finish into Europe, just because, it's an easy thing to say and sure there's no pressure to it. You were looking at the squad and you sort of were ramming the message home about the experience of it. And, we'll probably touch on Derry a wee bit later, and you can see that a major problem they have is a lack of experience. So I think you look at the quality Harps have, the strength and depth, there's no reason why they can't finish above Drogheda and Waterford and Longford and Sligo and all these teams. I feel that their squad is on par with some of those. And we've seen in the early stages of the season, 10 points. It's not easy to get results in the League of Ireland. And, even the character to come from 1 down against Waterford, and score a winner in the last minute, that just adds to momentum's massive in football and confidences. And I know Ollie's saying, look, when you're going well, those fall for you, and at the other end of the table, they don't go for you. But I just feel that there's a blend of experience there now. Even Ollie's experience in terms of the Premier Division has grown. Hegarty's been about the league for years. Harps have a real top class squad, and that goes into the management as well. So I feel that. I honestly do feel they could finish in the top 4 or 5. I still do. Whether they have the ability to sustain that, I don't know. Because yourself, a few injuries can change things, especially if McGinley was to be injured out of concerns over whether the keeper, without being harsh to him, is good enough to step up to the plate. But I definitely think if they can get that bit of luck and keep the rub of the green, there's no reason why they can't finish in the top 4 or 5. Well, I don't know if you agree with that, or you think maybe we still need to be a wee bit more realistic. I don't know.
No, I suppose Ollie seems to have a squad, and he has seemed to have his team that he wants to put. now we've seen the same faces pretty much in the last, other than the injuries that came off the back of the first game to Conley and Barry. I think he seems to be pretty set what the team that he wants to go with. Now, as you say, if injuries creep into that, will he still have enough to come in? Goalkeeping, obviously, if Foley wasn't to play with the lads that come in, would they, have just step into his shoes? Because he seems to be at the minute, everything he's hitting it is going in. It's just
100% that.
If they can keep the key lads fit, then obviously that's gonna determine. But that could be across the board. That's not just for Harps.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I suppose.
Not yet. I was going to say, I was just going to say because we are short for time, because we know there's a lot of Liverpool fans on the screen at the moment, so we want to try and get because of course there's a big chance that they'll qualify tonight, and we don't want to miss it. Moving on just to the Waterford match quickly before we go on to Derry. The Waterford a great result. A team that Harps have. It's been a team where Harps have picked up loads of points in the last couple of seasons. I think there might be one win in 15 for Waterford against Harps, and there's a couple, maybe one or two draws in there. I think so. A happy hunting ground. A team that Harps generally do well against is Waterford. Again, we're just watching the goals on screen here now. Great build-up play. And so there's Foley again. He just can't.
Great bit of composure from him as well in the box, wasn't it? A lot of people, if he's not on form, might have snatched at it. He takes a couple of touches out of his feet and buries it.
Confidence is bound to be sky high. Confidence is bound to be through the roof. And there's your left-sided centre half. There's no cracking one under the roof of that as well.
I'm not so sure he had the same control as Foley. It looked like he just pulled it, and it just it's one of them. It's a great strike. It's gone on the roof of the corner, but it could have very easily been in the river fin as well. But when it's going well for you, it's going well for you. But no, I was really impressed with Harps against Waterford because again, as I say, keep going 1-0 down. Waterford's a good side. Daryl Murphy up top. Premier League player, played for Ireland. You've got Kevin Sheedy on the sideline. So even though they're a new management team and it's a new squad, they're a good side. Watched them against Sligo, good team, and it's a great result. So it's all good, lad. It's all good. It's very positive.
Very, very much so. Things that aren't going so positive, I suppose, on the other side, is Derry's start to the season. Without bringing too many smiles to their faces, there you go, Devine. The divine intervention is required. They just had a terrible start. They're not to be criticising in terms of recruitment and stuff, but they just don't seem to have had that mix, that experience that you maybe need. That obviously the youth as well, the exuberance of bringing in young lads who really want to do well. That that have played at a high standard so far. Just looking at the team last night, it was great to see young running boys from Melton getting a start. Brendan Barr. Those are young lads, and they're being thrown in kind of at the deep end as such. I'm not sure how you say it, Chief, but I thought for to bring young lads in like that there, and just it was kind of a sink or swim type moment, and then the manner they conceded the goals, although played quite well in the game, at stages and had opportunities, they just don't seem to be getting any rub of the green so far.
100%. No, I think you summarised that well, and I think you focus on the lack of experience. I mean, I always talk about Funstein, Chris Breen talked to me about when they came into the Harps team, right, as young fellas. They came in the Harps team with Shane Bradley and Declan Boyle and Anthony Gorman and Tom Mohan and Kev McHugh. Unbelievable experience. Talk them through the game. If you're a young fella at Derry, who's talking you through the game? And you need that. It doesn't matter how good you are as a young player. You need good senior players in your dressing room. And you can chat to any manager or any player up and down the country. Your senior players manage your dressing room. And, Derry look like a side at the minute with loads of good young players. And there is experience there in the likes of Call and a few others. But I just don't think they have the right blend of experience and youth for that to work. And, you look even time, Derry won the first division when there was a rebuilding job, when we were there. You still had Barry Malloy and Eddie McCallion and Jared Doherty and Parkhouse and Mark Farn, God rest them. At the minute with Derry, you're looking at them and I don't see it turning anytime quick. Like, I really don't. I think it was a spirited enough performance from them last night. But Shamrock Rovers were comfortable. Like, and look, Shamrock Rovers are top side. But if you look at the teams Derry played, they went to Longford. They were beat. Well beat. Waterford came up and turned them over. You know, they haven't. You know, and they went away to Pats. St. Pat's a difficult place to go. But you know, you would have been expecting some sort of points on the board at this stage. And the fact that the 4 games in now, it just makes it harder and harder. And you know, if you're a Derry fan, you'd be very, very concerned. And as I say, I just don't know how it's going to turn for them. And I don't know if you think they need to invest. Are they looking already for at the transfer window to try and get experience in it? It's a strange one from Devine. He's been there before. He worked under Stephen Kenny. He's an experienced guy. Maybe he's trusted the squad a little bit too much. And he's realised now that they're in deep trouble. But for me, I think they're in real bother. Like.
Yeah, like I think it's never really, I suppose, a good sign when you see maybe the senior players or that leaving the club. The likes of maybe a Gilchrist. The likes of like obviously yes they got Parkhouse back in, which was a big coup for them. Who scored loads of
good player.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Who's a great asset. Do they have that that cohesion yet? Do they have that stability in terms of experience? Just like you said, in the middle of the park, in those key areas where you really need it. A young goalkeeper. It's just it doesn't.
He's struggling too, isn't he? As good as Burke's goal was last night, he's miles off it too, isn't he? Like, I mean,
well, there's a reason Burke hits that from halfway line. It's just,
he's out past his 18-yard box. I don't know what he's doing there, but it's a great bit of opportunism from Burke. But now I agree with you, lad. But what do you need? What do you think he needs to do to change it? I mean, he's dealt his hand, really, isn't he? He's got the squad of players he has now, so he has to continue to trust them and hope that it turns. But as I say, I don't see it turning, and those lads don't have experiences to fall back on and say, well, you know what? I remember when we went 6 unbeaten. What'll turn. But I don't know. It's definitely worrying for them. Is there any questions, Karen, that's coming on there that you want to take?
Yeah, let's have a look at the comment section flying up here. Ian Slevin reckons Devine be sacked if they get beat on Friday night. What do you think? Well, that's the one. That's the question. We looked at last night. Shamrock Rovers. No matter you get them home or away, probably the toughest side to play in the league. Probably the best team in the league this year. I suppose yet to be proven. But that's one there. Will he survive? Will he get past this weekend if they don't pick up points? Last night you've probably seen it as a bit of a free hit, but in previous years, if a Derry manager hadn't won any of the first 4 games, would they have got an extra go? So interesting comment there. Kevin Luther, Jim McGuinness been linked with a Derry job. I'm not too sure your sources there. Do you know that? Do you know Kevin, Chief? Would you know would his sources be?
I don't know if Kevin's sources are solid or not, but I definitely don't think McGuinness would be the man for the job. Like great Gaelic manager and stuff, and we obviously worked at Celtic, and he went to America and things didn't work out for him. I definitely don't think Derry need to be taking a punt on an unproven manager in football. Obviously, not taking away the unbelievable success he had with Donegal, but it's a different sport, very different sport, especially when you're working with full-time players, and there's all sorts of different aspects at play there. But yeah, like for Derry, for me, it's just, I said at the start of the season, you have McCourt in there, and sometimes a name like that casts a big shadow. And the Derry City fans, their expectations are through the roof. I think when you done an interview there with Charlie during the week, Anthony Gorman was saying he heard Liam Coyle saying their minimum for Derry is Europe. So Derry fans haven't sort of, reevaluated where they should finish by looking at the squad. They're looking at the squad and I think that's good enough to get into Europe. Now, I said at the start of the season, I didn't think it was, and I think they would struggle. And so far, I've been proven right. So again, when the expectations of that club are through the roof and Derry aren't getting results, they're not the most forgiving of supporters. They're going to want probably changes. They might want Paddy McCord in, the Derry Pele and whatnot. And it's just going to be interesting to see it, because I I do think if he doesn't get a result on the board in the next couple of weeks, they will be looking probably at a change, I think. And I don't like saying that. And who am I to say it?
Has the fans not been there a negative or a positive for him, you think? Because, like we've played in the Brandywell, when the fans are there, it's a horrible place to go. Could they help this young team? Could they drive this young team on? It's probably more of a detrimental thing that they're not there. If the results had continued to go the way they're going, it's probably a good thing that they're not there, because they wouldn't be happy with the start that they've had.
100%. Like, I mean, playing in the Brandywell, and I always reference that night. We drew with them, and you could see that night the fans just turned on them after an hour, because they were expecting like this was Harps, turned them over, and it didn't happen. And you could see some players visibly on the pitch, sort of shrinking almost, and it gave us a lift, because you could see the fans have turned on them here, and they're getting on their backs. So as you say, it's probably a good thing at the minute the Brandywell isn't packed, but then at the same time, it would help obviously if they're getting behind them and they're getting support. But it'll be interesting to see how it develops. To be honest, Keith.
Yeah.
But
jump on a couple more comments. A couple more comments here. Chief Kieran Cannon says that Kevin was a former ball boy at the Brandywell, and he reckons he heard that last Saturday. That's with McGuinness coming in. Let me see. No matter the manager, is a very poor squad. About 11 real League of Ireland players in there. Any others that we can see there? Ross jumped on here. The biggest share of whingers if things aren't going well. Yeah, I think we can back that one as right. You can just see
what about Benny Boner's comment there, Keith? Is that true? He said heard Keith's heading to Derry. He said heard Keith's heading to Derry for a game. You would be an ideal man in terms of needing an experienced League of Ireland centre half in there to get control of the dressing room. Would you ever cross over to the dark side?
Next question. Alan Kelly says, great time to be a Harps fan. Ron saying again, Shirley McCourt banging on the chairman's door. Any others in there?
Here, there's a comment I think it's a good one for you to answer. It's like Paul Boyle, good mate of mine, the Yank, great player. Is Ollie unbelievable at controlling expectation, or is it just sheer pessimism with him all the time? How do you lads think he is managing this great start in the dressing room? Can you be best placed to try and figure that one out? Like, is he always as pessimistic? Is there two sides to Ollie, or is it you see what you get with him?
No, you see what you get. It's totally pessimistic. There's no point in me saying anything else. Like, he manages it well. I suppose. Yes, now, I haven't been in many dressing rooms in the Premier League when we've, took 4 from 4, what I mean? So he's never had to manage that side. It was more keeping us going was the way that it usually was. He manages as well. He has his own style. Players seem to, love the way that he does things. There's different types of managers. We all know there's the managers that'll bullshit you and tell you everything's great and you're great and it's brilliant. There's a manager that'll keep everybody grounded, and so I think that he's obviously he's doing a good job. The proof's in the pudding. It's one thing starting to escalate now, and it's like, oh, Ollie, you just won the last 10 games. You can't tell us now. You beat everybody in the league. So what's next? What are you going to tell us now? So look, it's great to see. It's great to see. Good question there, Frank, as well.
Good other question as well, but just quick one. Do you remember the time? I only worked with Ollie for 6 months. He got me out. He got my wee fat arse out the door. But I remember when we played Cove and they'd lost the first couple of games 5-0, and he was wound up before the match for us not to take them lightly or whatever. So we obviously weren't. Cut the long story short, we won 5-0, and I remember coming in the dressing room afterwards, and he's kind of pacing around. You'd think, what's going on here? If we lost it, he goes, my God, boys, we'll know all about it when we go to Cove in 6 weeks' time. There'll be some reaction from them. So I was there, no chance of a pat in the back for 1-5. Jesus Christ, boys, we'll know all about it when we go to Cove in 6 weeks' time. Jesus
Ollie would never want you. He would never want you to go out and tank someone. He would want you to win by 1 goal. That's it. One scabby goal. Probably around the 70th minute or something like that there. So it wasn't even a last 100%. Minute where we're not to be getting clean carried away. A goal, 70th minute, time for everything to settle down. Because if you went and tanked somebody, you say 5-0, he'd be thinking that'll be cannon, or that'll be fuel for them next time you go and play them. They'd be thinking, get stuck into these lads. They hammered his last time, so he'd like to keep things, keep them low key. Lads not getting carried away.
100%. Look, before we bring Brushy in, last question I'll put it to you from. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead then. Go ahead. You see one.
I was just going to Ian Slevins asked the question: What Harps player have impressed us both so far? I would say the Foley, because Foley's an easy one, isn't he? Because he's banging in goals. So who have you been impressed with this season?
I've been impressed with, I suppose, looking on the back line. For me, so I'll take the defenders.
You take the back line, right?
I've been impressed with Webster. I think he's done really well. I think, playing a captain's role in there, just seems to be leading the team. Like, as you're speaking to a few of the lads as well about him, and he's a great lad in the dressing room. Not just a yes man in the dressing room as well. If things aren't right or if he's not happy with something, he's going to Ollie, he's going to Higgsy, he's
challenging them,
making his case. He's challenging. He scored the winner last week. He seemed to really. He seems to really care about the club, and that's massive. To come down and to earn that respect straight away from a dressing room. Some lads that have been there before, some new lads coming in. So for me,
you're going Dave Webster.
The performances as well have been brilliant. So I'm going for Webster.
Yeah, well, people are going to think I'm just jumping on Barry McGowan and Alan Kelly and Kevin Lowther's comment, but from a midfield perspective, I've been very impressed with Mark Coyle. I think we named the starting team. I don't think we had a minute. I think we had Connolly, we had McNamee, we had somebody else. We weren't sure if Coyle would start, but I think he's been absolutely immense. Again, it was him getting the ball off Mark Anthony McGinley and started that attack, knocked it in the midfield, got it back, played a great ball to Barry McNamee. That's probably a part of his game that he's got better at. I think you've touched on it before that he's athletic, he gets in people's faces, he closes people down. People have said he needs to get better at that, but he looks like he's getting more confident on the ball, more composed on the ball, and again, he's probably someone that's confidence is sky high. But for me, definitely Mark Coyle has been absolutely outstanding. Really, really impressed. Really impressed with him.
Yeah, one question that's quite interesting there. I think it was Ian Slevin put it up there, that Derry are interested in bringing Higgsy in. That would be if he was.
Wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. He's been there before.
Interest there from Higgsy, do you think, to go to Derry?
To be honest, Higgsy loves Derry, doesn't he? Obviously, great success there as a player. There's no point saying he doesn't. Obviously, he loves Harps, and you can see his reaction when we scored the winner. Him tearing up the line like a hare.
Mourinho.
But Mourinho. But look, I think Hegarty, as much as he likes, being involved there at Harps, and number two, I still think he always backs himself. Where he probably wants to be a manager. And I think if an opportunity came where Derry came knocking and said, "Look, Paul, we want you to take over," probably be a tough one for him to turn down. But I'd be more concerned if they came looking for Ollie, to be honest. That's what if they came looking for, if you look at Ollie and think the job he's done on the budget he's done, and Derry are full time, maybe does Ollie, would Ollie try his hand at full time football? I don't know. I think Ollie would stay at Harps, but if you're the Derry chairman, and you're looking at Ollie and you're looking at the job he's doing with the budget he has, it'd be hard not to say this guy, this guy's a top manager and he's proven, and he's, look, that's a tough one, but it definitely wouldn't surprise me, put it that way, if Higgsy was approached. If they're looking for something to steady the ship and maybe more of a short-term appointment, it would make a lot of sense, because there's not a lot of managers out there, is there? To be honest. I don't know. What do you reckon? Do you think it would be something that he'd jump at?
I'm not so sure, to be honest. I think, the type of Higgsy, he's a very type of, he's an honest type of character for me. He's all about hard work and graft. And, I find, if he was to, now look, who knows when it's dangling, when the carrot's in front of you, dangling in front of your face like that, you never know what way you would react to it. But it's a massive job. It's probably one of the biggest jobs in the country in terms of football management. Massive club, a huge undertaking that it would be. I just think things are going so well for him at the minute, and he has put so much effort into this. This Harps, Finn Harps. This time that he's been here, I just think that I think he'll be wanting to, stick this one out with Harps and, see where it goes, because, it'll be a terrible time to leave, with the run that they're going on. So I just think that I think him and Ollie will be going nowhere, to be fair, if they were offered any job. We'll come at the minute. Good point by Rod there. Stephen Kenny could be available sooner. You never know. Something that we touched on as well recently as well. Good point.
Nisho Farrell, Roddy Collins for the brand new. I don't think they'd have Roddy back up there, I know. But look, you just don't know. Look, it's not nice either, I suppose, for us to be chatting, as if Devine is, going to be out of a job or whatever. Look, it's a terrible start to the season, but look, they could go at the weekend and get a result. I don't see it happening, but it could turn for them. And all of a sudden then, young lads, get the tail up and get a couple of results, and all of a sudden things can very quickly change. And so it's probably a bit premature to be maybe going that far.
It could be one of those ones as well. The chief of this conversation's already been had with the chairman and with the board members to say, look, we have these young lads. We've got we've reduced the budget or whatever the case may be. We're going to go with them. We're going to give them game time. And look, we wouldn't think they'd be getting relegated. Obviously, you might have the boys to panic button at some stage and get a few lads in. They can maybe do that in the summer when the transfer window opens. But look, maybe that's the approach that's been taken. And then where Devine, obviously, he shows his passion for Derry, and McCourt as well, who's a hero there. So look, maybe the conversation we're having is totally off the mark, and they're putting things in place for the future. But look,
well, just finally, I suppose. Just finally, my last point. I do think if there was a change, they would look internally. I think it would be a case of they either promote Kevin Derry or Paddy McCourt to the job. I think that's what they do. I think if they were to make a change, I don't think they would get somebody from the outside come in. I think they would give the job, because Derry done a relatively good job at Institute, and obviously Paddy's untried, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But look, you're going to bring in the main man now, are you?
Special guest this week on ATS, former teammate of mine, played with him obviously at Finn Harps. He was there for a season, spent a season with us at Finn Harps. Then obviously been at Shamrock Rovers, currently enjoying his fourth spell at Sligo Rovers, where they just can't seem to get enough of him after his move from Cliftonville there back in January. So Richard Brush, welcome to ATS Live.
Thanks for having me. I've questioned the last 33 minutes. I've been all thinking, these boys know about football and they're bringing me in. I haven't got a clue. So I don't know what we're going to talk about, lads, but, far ahead.
Well,
Brushy, you look like you're just back from a Blink-182 concert or something. What's going on with the hat?
This is it. I'm trying to keep my youth. You've got two great hairlines in front of me here, and mine's back here, so I have to keep hats on. So that's
I know you're talking about, Brushy. Your hairline disappeared a long time ago, man. That's why the hat's on. There's nothing there. Look, you've had an exceptional career. We're not going to go too much into it because we'd love to get you back on as a guest on the main podcast that we've been doing for almost a year now. So we'd love to get you back on there. Sligo have had a great start to the Premier League this year. Couple of additions, yourself being one of them. How do you think things are coming together for you so far? Slight delay. What do you, Brushy?
So far, so good. You were talking about, now, I'm getting you just about being out in the sticks in the middle of nowhere. I'm struggling. But no, I'll batter on. So far, so good. Obviously, unbeaten start. You can't have so much more of that. The two games we've sort of drawn as well. I'd say we were maybe the Shamrock Rovers games. We were maybe lucky in a sense to drag a point out of that. But again, it could have went the other way. They scored the late equaliser, and again against Dundalk, another top team in the division, we had a goal wrongfully disallowed. So on the grand scheme of things, it's not a bad start. But if you're looking at if buts and maybes, it could have been better. Really could have been.
Good stuff. A couple of you guys that the gaffers brought in, Brushy. who obviously Romeo Parks came back from a spell in the US. The young Gibson lads come in as well. You know, a bit of experience with Greg Bolger. Who's impressed you so far?
I think the man you've just said there, you know, Greg, is similar to myself, maybe a bit younger, but coming to, you know, the ripe old age of welcome to the 30s a few years ago. But you look at the work rate the boy's still got. He's still getting about the pitch. He's, you know, and it's not just that. When he's on the ball, he's, you know, he can pick a pass, and also his leadership skills. He's been there, done everything. You know, he's won leagues, he's won cups. So he's bringing massive experience, and not just that, he's doing it on the pitch as well.
Yeah. And Brushy, just obviously, look, Keith's already said you've had an unbelievable League Ireland career, and we had Raf Kataro on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he said you're a Sligonian and you're absolutely loved down there. But obviously, goalkeeping's a really tough position. You've got a young goalkeeper in there at Sligo. You know, McGinty seems to be doing really well. How good a keeper is he? You obviously get to work with him on a daily basis. Top keeper, is he?
Yeah, top keeper. You know, as you say, young goalies. You know, there seem to be a lot more young goalies in the league this year. And, you know, Ed's not just the top young keeper, he's the top keeper in the league. You know, he's been playing his third season of starting as number one. So for a young age that he has, to be playing 3 seasons full out and doing well, not just playing and, you know, getting by, he's been putting in top performances. And he shows it in training. You know, he's a top pro. And more importantly for me, he's a great lad as well. You know, he's easy to get on with. He's great to be around. So, you know, that's a massive help for myself to come along and, you know, try and push him on a little bit more. Yeah. And also, you know, for the players, if, you know, you've got a bit of a goalie, and I've come across a few time that would not, you know, sort of get on with the team, but they do the job. It helps that he's a top man as well.
Yeah. And Brushy, we talked a wee bit there about Derry City and the expectations of that club. Sligo, you've been there, you know, won an FAI Cups and league titles. The expectations there at Sligo, what is the expectations there at the minute amongst the fan base and the squad there? Are you targeting a European place, or what's the state of play there? And your best place to see, you know, how healthy the squad is compared to the previous squads you've worked with?
Yeah, I know a lot of players would sort of play it down and say, you know, oh, there's no expectation. We've not really spoke about anything. But, you know, 4 games in, you don't really talk about where we're looking at ending up. You know, obviously, you take the usual cliches of you take every game as it comes. But given the start we've had, you know, obviously expectation builds, and so does it builds within the squad, no more as it will with Harps. It will build within the squad, and you'll look to just, you touched on it, consistency is key, and, you know, winning is a you know, a habit, and it grows, and it really does. But then again, on the other side of things, it only takes one bad result, and you know, it can knock you straight down. So, you know, the talk around the change room, it's still quite muted as to where we're going and what the plans are. But, you know, going on the good start, you'd be daft to be not really aiming for that European spot.
Yeah, good stuff. So he's obviously a big game this weekend, big Northwest Derby against Harps. I'm sure you are shitting yourselves. Probably the fact that Ollie will be coming up. There's been a couple of great games between the two clubs over the past few seasons. What team he's going to play, or what's the story? What team he's going to play?
Ollie's not watching. Work away.
Well, I'm starting anyway because I want to give Harps a bit of a chance. So this is
right, okay.
Give me a start. No, honestly, yeah. What you say, there's been some cracking games. I remember when I was at Harps years ago, and I think that season, Sligo were the only team that didn't beat us. We were unbeaten to Sligo throughout the season. So, you know, from a Harps point of view, there's obviously, and again, not that there ever will be, there's nothing to fear for Harps coming up here. And again, it's a strange one where, and it's no offence to anyone, you know, Sligo were looking at Harps this year, who are the informed team. we're looking up at Harps and trying to, look at, the results they've got. So not that you come into games with an expectation of beating teams, but, this year will be a complete, flip of the coin. Harps are the team to beat. And, as early days as it is, or as silly as it may sound, Harps are leading the pack, and this is it. Whether you can class underdogs or who you expect to win so early on in the season, it will be a massive battle. It'll be a massive battle, and maybe one that will, again, I may be talking waffle and it's early days, may define the season. Whoever wins this could really kick on, to where they're going to end up for the season.
Yeah. Is there one that was there? Obviously, you have had a chat around the changing room and stuff, and you speak to the players and the manager and stuff like that there. Before the season started, would you have thought that Harps might have been a place where you'd be, there's 3 points for us there? Have they kind of, passed the expectation levels of people the way that they'd be seen in Sligo?
This is, you have lazy talks about teams, before seasons and who you're expecting to be there and thereabout. And I think everybody could. And this is no disrespect, and there was talk of, you've touched on it yourselves, the signings and the squad that Harps have got this season.
Yeah.
I agree with Mark. They'll be disappointed not to be touching the top six this season, because they've, you look at players that they've brought in and players that have been going now for a couple of years. There's top players there now. It's not a case of when me and you were playing, Keith, and they were plugging holes. they've top players.
Filling spaces.
So it's, obviously. Obviously the expectation was Harps not to be leading the pack and unbeaten with 4 games in, but this is where we are, and it really is great to see. It's brilliant for the league. It's really good for the league.
Yeah, Brushy, there's a couple of good comments coming in here again, showing how much you were revered at Harps. Mark McCann, Richard's a legend. Thanks for bailing us out the last few years. So, and Rod Dulligan's asking you a question for Brushy. Persistence of time or among the living? No idea what Rodney Dulligan is on about there. But obviously, Richard, you're a popular player. But how do you look back on your time at Harps? We don't need to go too deep into it, but obviously you worked under Ollie. He's one of the adored characters of the League of Ireland. Feel free to answer in those questions. That one about Rod, by the way, I don't get it, but maybe you do. And just tell us a little bit about your time at Harps.
It's albums. It's Anthrax albums. Yeah, it'd be Anthrax album. It'd be Among the Living. I was brought up on Among the Living that era, but that's for him now. Yeah, that'll be a personal thing, and maybe if I come on, we can talk a bit more about heavy metal next time and less about.
I'd love to. I would love to.
We'll get Rod involved.
Back to 2016. Now it was my first step away from full-time football. I'd been full-time with Sligo, obviously, since I come over, and obviously Shamrock Rovers, and then being in England from leaving school at 16, I went straight into full-time football. So it was my first step away from full-time football, and I was kind of studying along with training and that, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it, and it was a relief sort of to step back and not sort of step away from football, because Keith and anybody who's been on Ollie, they'll tell you how intense Ollie can be. But it was great for me. It really was. It was nice to sort of come away from the intense full time. I wouldn't say spotlight, because it's not so much of a spotlight. We're not in the big leagues of being under scrutiny constantly. But it was nice to take that little step back and and enjoy. I wouldn't say I wasn't enjoying football, but get back to proper enjoyment of football. That sort of atmosphere and that sort of headspace of not that it's not the be all and end all, but there's other things going on as well, and it kind of brought you back a little bit.
Yeah. Keith, how good a character was this man when he came into the dressing room? I know you spoke fondly of him, but just great to have a player that experience in there. Yeah.
To be fair, I thought Brushy was real breath of fresh air when he came in. Obviously, you see the guy walking in, he's got piercings. Well, these are only piercings that you see firsthand. So he's the piercings in the ears. You saw the tattoos everywhere. You saw the long hair, the hairband type stuff. The Brummie accent, and he's just like straight away. He's just talking to guys, and he's over speaking to the lads, making just trying to get to know them, and just one of those lads you just love having in the dressing room, because he's just so friendly. But then again, when it comes to football, he's bang on it. He's professional in his approach. he does everything right. He sets good standards. I remember that season. Obviously, we stayed up that year. But there was a time in the season where it wasn't going well. And Brushy wouldn't be one for banging the drum either. He speaks little, but when he speaks, people listen, and that, I think that's massive. And lads, that can be shouting rubbish, a lot of the time just to be heard. I think it was one of the games. It might have been Longford, and we really need to beat Longford at home. And I think we might have lost 2-0. I think we were terrible on night. We didn't show up at all. We were awful. And it was probably the first time Brushy spoke in the change rooms, and he came in and he's just like, lads, we have I'll tell you. Well, actually, what he says, lads, we are a bunch of see you next Tuesdays, basically. All right, he says we can't be pointing fingers at anybody but ourselves. We're absolutely atrocious. He says all the work that Ollie's been doing for us, all the effort he's been putting in, he's given us everything in play. And we turn around a performance like that there. And for me, that was the turning point in that season. And then after that we started throwing a few results together. And something like that, when somebody has come in and says something that really hits home, like that, like Brushy did that day. It's one of those things you actually never forget. And he was spot on with his comments, and it was his time there. I remember it being excellent. I was raging when I knew he was leaving. But as anything, he's just like a lot of players. He just chases the money, and he's been doing it ever since. And that's probably why he's back at Sligo again.
Hey, Brushy, obviously, I think that's brilliant too to hear for Fun Harps fans and stuff. You don't see that sometimes, the role that people have. There's been a few people on about the hair transplant. You need to get in contact with Raf Guittaro, Brushy, if they're hairline struggling. That's your go-to man. A few comments have come on about that. But here, I want to take you to Cliftonville. Obviously,
Raf's got the 20% off code. Give Raf a shout. We get you the 20% off. Raf 10 gets you a brand new front, back, and sides.
Here, lads, we're going to wrap things up soon because we obviously the Champions League's on and whatnot. But really enjoy it. No, I'm going to go there. Relax yourself. Relax. So, Brushy, obviously you were up in Cliftonville for 3 years. You played up there with our ex-teammate Paddy McLaughlin, top man. You faced Cowan in a penalty shootout. What were you thinking when you seen Cowan trudging up in a penalty? You must have been rubbing your hands.
In the first 5 penalties, and this fella's, oh my God, I thought, do these really get to the final?
So it's fair to say you didn't fancy him, though. Did you know you were going to save it?
No, in fairness, penalties are penalties, and now you can get, obviously if they let Keith, walk up, they obviously thought that they're not that hard to score. But no, I mean,
I said, Brushy, you fancy a move back to Sligo, do you? I'm going bottom left.
I'm going bottom left. Yeah. You had your rogue agent coming at Uniman anyway. He was moving, so you thought, I'll just bang this here for Brushy, get him moved back, and we'll get to the final anyway.
Oh man. So off the back of that, obviously, look, you're well revered up in Cliftonville. They absolutely love you. I know a lot of lads spoke to Conor Mack about you, who made the move to Glentoran as well. Say you're a top lad. Speak to us a wee bit about Cliftonville. Your time there, just sum up what the place meant to you.
Huge club.
A huge club, and one as great of a time I had, and obviously an amazing time. One that I'll look back on and think that we underachieved. Obviously you talk about the semi-final. That was the biggest heartbreak for us, obviously. But even before that, there was I think with the season being sort of tail ended again with what was going on. We were on I think there were 7 games left, and 7 games left. I think we were sort of joint third with Crusaders, and I think we had we had two teams who were bottom left to finish off the 33 games that we'd beaten 2 or 3 times previously. So ifs, buts and maybes, but going into those 2 games, you're probably looking at 6 points would have put us in a healthy position for the split, and we could have maybe pushed on third, second. So I'll always look back with great memories because, like you say, it's a massive club and the people around it. And in fairness, rightly or wrongly, the club does come under a bit of stick for whatever reasons it has done in the past and stuff. But people running it and people around the club are absolutely incredible, absolutely genuinely incredible people, as with most clubs that are in on the island. But no, a fantastic time, and Keith will tell you, lads up north and stuff, it seems to be a bit of a different world for whatever reason. But on the whole, it's as clubs to be running up there is fantastic, and I love my whole time up there. The whole time there was brilliant.
That's brilliant, Brushy. And just staying on the topic of memories, Ian Slevins asked, what was your favourite moment being with Harps? Is there a standout moment from your season at Fun Park?
And it'll sound mad. I mean, it will sound strange and probably won't make much sense. But Keith will remember it. I remember we were training. It's nothing to do with playing either. We were training, and was it Cork were playing Wexford? And if Cork were to beat Wexford, we were safe, and we were training on the day, on the evening it was going on, and I think we were due to play somebody the weekend. And Ollie being Ollie, obviously, I think Cork were going to win the league that year, or maybe 2016, or maybe second or whatever. And obviously, Wexford were down there with us. So it was kind of a bit of a foregone conclusion of what was going to happen. But Ollie being Ollie had us all in. He had the laptop set up on the to put the Bohemians team out, or whoever it was we were playing. And he had the laptop set up, and he had his team talk doing and everything. And he was preparing as if it was, a cup final, as Ollie does with everything. And we were sitting in the change room, and he'd gone out to do something. So I get on his computer, and the little camera, I put my big silly face on it. So when it was put on, what he was thinking, my face was going to be a screensaver when he put it on. Realised. And then the team board, he'd wrote their team board, and me being the fool that I am, drew, something in the shape of that a man has, on the team thingy. So he come in then, and all the lads are sitting down, and ready. Now, we're going to talk about bows. So he puts his thing on, and it blasts up on the wall in the change room, and there's my big stupid face. So he kind of rolls his eyes at that, and then puts on the next screen, and there's a Cork City badge on it like this. So then it goes on like this stupid thing. So then he gets, he carries on and manages to get through it, and the lads are still sitting there taking some sort of notice. So then he gets the whiteboard with their team, and he pulls it forward, and he just puts it back. Right, lads, out we go training. Doesn't even turn their team around. But a testament to Ollie, in fairness, because he must have been doing his nut thinking, this, not bad, yeah. What is he doing?
I brought this experienced goalkeeper in, and he's destroying me video analysis.
He's just destroying everything. But I mean, I think it was just more of a memory of Ollie just being, he soldiered through it. Any other manager would have been like, no, forget it, lads, get out. Or lost his rag, because Ollie's, he's brilliant. But he soldiered through it, in fairness. But when he got to their team shape on the whiteboard and seen this drawing that had gone on, I think that was the end of his tether, and he sent us all out.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Any more? Do you want to see any more questions? Rory Kelly asked the question there. I think we may have covered this, Brushy, just on how good a keeper is Ed McGinty. You did touch on that. You said he was quality, and will only get better.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Colin O'Donnell says Harps are underdogs on Saturday evening. No matter what anyone says, the proof is in the pudding, because they are 3-1 with the bookies to win. What amount of money you want to bet? So Colin O'Donnell saying Sligo are favourites. Would you agree with that, Brushy, or are you going to play? Are you going to play the devil's advocate and say Harps are favourites because they're 2 points ahead?
Devil's advocate. I mean, going on, form. If you were coming in and looking at at any other team that had gone in the form of what Harps are at, I think it's hard to write them off as not being sort of favourites. Now, you wouldn't, not out and out favourites as, if you were playing, I don't know, whoever. But I mean, with the form they're in, it's hard to write them off, it's hard to write them off. Really is.
Yeah. Interesting. It'll be. Go ahead, Chief.
Just a question came in there now. Obviously, there's a Sligo goalkeeper on loan at Harps, Luke McNicholas. Did you get an opportunity to work with him much before he made the move to Harps? Obviously, we haven't seen him play. So, what sort of goalkeeper is he?
I worked with him a couple of times now. When I was with Cliftonville, I trained with Sligo a couple of times and was in and out. And again, very similar to Ed. Ability-wise, absolutely fantastic. Obviously, does need to start getting games for whatever reason or for however he gets them. He needs to start getting games. But again, ability-wise, all the ability in the world. Again, professionally, probably one of the most professional lads you'll ever come across. Yeah, you will ever come across in regards to recovery, everything, stretching. And again, a lovely, lovely lad, a really nice lad. Just needs to get games wherever or however. Obviously, McGinley's proved himself again, same as Big Ed. He's proved himself over the last couple of seasons. He's one of the top keepers in the league, and I think I wouldn't say they're underrated, but they're definitely undervalued. The Harps, McGinley and Ed, they're very, very not by their own teams and that, but as a league, when you look at some of the goalkeepers that have gone over the years that have been blown up and said this, that, and you look at them, I think they're still very, very under the radar, which is good for them, I suppose, in a sense. But as both keepers, and I'll include Luke in that as well, he just needs to get games. But now, top keepers.
So are you saying, Brushy, then if McGinley was to get injured, touch wood he's not, because he's been in outstanding form, as we've been talking about. If McGinley was to get injured, do you think it would be no problem from young McNicholas just to step in?
I personally, from what I've seen, absolutely no issues. Ability-wise and everything, obviously, he's going into, games that he hasn't had. But with his preparation of everything that he does, I'd have absolutely no issues with him stepping in and doing just as well, if not better, as the standard, McGinley's done.
Okay, well, that's reassuring, obviously, for Harps fans anyway, that if something was to happen like that, then, and hopefully maybe there will be an occasion if we can get maybe the League Cup started up maybe in the summer or whatever, where, these lads that aren't getting game times, Sligo included, will be looking to try and get these lads in and, get a proper look at them. Chief, anything else there that's kind of jumping out?
I think that's it. I think we'll let Brushy go. Just want to say, Brushy, thanks a million for jumping on. It's not easy jumping on, especially when it's live, but it's been great chatting to you. And, I can see why you were such a revered character in the dressing room at Harps, and everywhere you went, you've left a real legacy. And that's what it's about too. You can be an outstanding goalkeeper, but, leaving that legacy and those memories with the people that you played with is really important, and you've certainly done that. So I think, as Keith said, we definitely want to get you on the podcast and dig deep into your career, because you've had a great career. But thanks, Millie, for jumping on. And
thanks.
100%, Brushy. Thanks a million for jumping on. Obviously, people of Sligo would like to have you back for, as we said, a full spell. So best of luck with it for the rest of the season. You've obviously got a great deal at Sligo. You're doing the goalkeeping side of it, the coaching side of it as well. If they could sort you out now with a decent Wi-Fi, that'd be great too. So we're going to do the podcast. We're asking questions now and we're getting an answer tomorrow. So hopefully that'll be sorted in the next time we get you. Look, thanks a million. Great to chat to you. Talk to you again soon, bud. All right, take it easy.
Top man, Brushy. Where's Brushy living? Narnia, is it?
I think so.
Jesus Christ.
I wasn't too sure. Something going on. Shocking. I was saying.
He done well there, to be fair.
He's turned the camera right before he jumped on, Chief, and he showed he's out in the stick somewhere. He says, I think he's still using the dongle. I think he's got the wee dongle on the side.
He's got the wee Vodafone dongle stuck in. To be fair, I meant what I said there. I thought he was brilliant. He spoke really well. He's a top man, top keeper. Rod has just said, good man, Brushy, top man. So, no, it was great to have him on, and that's something we're going to be doing more often when we go live. Also, with the watch-alongs, we're going to get some players to come on before the match, come on at half-time and after. So, again, the interaction with you guys tonight's been brilliant. Loads of comments coming in. So, it's been quality. Is there anything else you want to chat about, Karen, before we wrap it up? And if there's anyone still watching that want to ask us anything before we wrap it up, feel free.
I think we're all good on that one, Chief. The next watch along we'll do yet to be decided. Obviously, Chief's a very busy man at the minute, and he has to have permission to put on a shirt these days. By the looks of things, Chief jumping on with a hoodie, not having that.
It's not a bad.
It's a hoodie.
Here, look. To be honest, you were on there with Charlie Collins and Gorman. You were wearing a wee bomber jacket, so that was a fair shout.
It was snowing outside. Don't be coming for me in my clothes when you're coming on here with a hoodie and you're in Dubai.
I was snowing outside. Were you up at? Was it outside Brushy's house in Narnia? Was it? Is that where you done the interview?
Something like that.
Absolute joke.
Something like that. Look here, Ian Slevin is suggesting we get on the Derry game anyway for the bank holiday weekend. That's one that we could definitely look at. Look, we're going to try and get them as best we can. Try and manage the schedule as best we can, and look, we'll obviously give you good notice when we're doing them, the live shows, because again, we love doing them. We love you jumping on with the comments, etc. Get on our YouTube channel, folks, as well, and hit that subscribe button, like those videos. There's loads of podcasts on there. We're on the SoundCloud as well for an alternative way to listen. So get on that. Obviously, the Facebook page as well, where this will be posted afterwards. Some people, getting late to the party, obviously coming in from work and stuff like that there, so they're not getting to join the show. So have a listen back.
Good.
Yes.
Are you buying that from Tony McNamee? He's only finished work. I think it's Derry struggling, and he knew we were going to be chatting about Derry, and he's came on last minute. Oh, only finished work. Congratulations, Mark. Not buying that, Tony. You've been on for the entire show. Hey, he must be upset. He must be upset. What do you reckon? You know him better. You know him better than me.
Obviously, he's not going to be happy, but he's a Harps fan now. So look, it's great. We'll take it, Tony. No bother. We love having you. And love hearing the comments. But as I say, folks, all across social media. Thanks to Bosch as well again for starting us out with the setup tonight and getting Rushy involved. Obviously, he's doing a lot of Instagram stuff as well, keeping you up to date on there. We're getting a couple of shortened videos on there from some of the previous podcasts that we've been doing. So have a look at those. Leave comments, get interactive with us, and we'll get back on very shortly for another midweek and for another watch along for the matches.
100%, Chief. Sounds good. Before I let you go, we're obviously Liverpool fans, but we're not great because we're missing most of the match. Is there any? Can anyone give us anyone give us an update in the score here or what?
How are we getting on? Doc said he was going to keep us up to date. They must be winning because nobody said nothing.
Still 0-0. 37 minutes gone, so we'll get the second half. Hopefully there'll be a bit of a resurgence in the second half for us. But no, look, as Keith said, guys, thanks a million for joining again. The interaction from you are brilliant. The comments are brilliant. The questions are great. But as Keith says, please subscribe, please share, and as we said, we'll try and get on for a watch along really soon, and we'll try and do another live show next week, and hopefully we'll be talking about another fun Harps win over their rivals Sligo Rovers. So
good stuff.
Top man, Chief.